you just sink further and further. That's what I call the quicksand experience. Oh, now I've got both boots stuck just for the purpose of video here. Hi, and welcome back to Purple Color Life. It is a gorgeous Saturday here in Northwest Pennsylvania. The sun's out. It is in the low 50s. Could be a little bit warmer, but we'll take advantage of the nice sunshine. I actually just got back from a work trip to Orlando, Florida, so it was an adjustment coming from first going to Florida from the snow. So it was snowing the day I was driving to the airport. Got to Florida, beautiful weather, came home, more snow, but this morning turned out to be a nice sunny day. So Jennifer and I actually went out this morning and spent a little bit of time on my white collar job. I needed to get an updated sport coat, some nice new pants, and a new shirt for this coming week. So I got all that taken care of. So here's what white collar, Purple Color Life Chad looks like. And then I've also got a birthday coming up. So Mom and Dad spent some time working with Adam from Hometown Acres to get a Purple Color Life sign made for Jennifer and I as a birthday gift for me. So Dad got to go visit Adam at his house, which is not far from where we live here at Purple Color Life. And Adam made a beautiful sign on cherry for us to hang up in my office. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for the great birthday gift. And thank you, Adam from Hometown Acres, for the cool sign. Now let me give you a little update. We've had a ton of rain. Just before I left for Orlando, I didn't even record it, but we were having so much rain and it was getting all this area wet. And I thought, I'll never be able to get in there with the John Deere or the Mini X to work on fixing this up if the water just keeps filling up this area. So I had purchased 20 feet of an 8-inch pipe that would extend this drainage culvert that comes underneath the driveway. And I thought, if I can get that 20-foot stick to get the water 20 feet further out, that might dry this up a little bit. So I came down here the other day with that stick of culvert pipe, and I was working my way down the hill. You can see there's still water in here. But as I was working in this area to put this pipe on the end of the old pipe, this is where the trench is that we dug for our underground power line to the big 40x60 building. And remember how as a kid you'd watch the Dukes of Hazzard or those shows and there would be quicksand? Well, as an adult, I don't have to worry about quicksand as much as I thought I would. As a kid, I was always afraid of quicksand. But this hole beside this pipe I was trying to put in felt like quicksand. When I was right there, very quickly, the mud came up over top of my boots as I was sinking faster and faster down into that trench. That's just how much water is in all that clay and mud from me putting that power line in there. So I did get the stick attached to the end. I used the Mini X to just throw a little dirt on top of it to kind of hold it in place. You can see this would probably be much worse if I hadn't done that, because we had just an unbelievable amount of rain before I went to Orlando. So thankfully it all came out 20 feet further down. This is still too wet to work in right now, but I have created even more wetness since I evacuated that water out. You can see it's still trickling. It trickles all the time from the springs in the upper yard. But I made this area down here very wet from that water all coming out there. So I've got a lot to do in this area to get this cleaned up. But what I need to do, if I can get it dry enough, is get the Mini X in here and level out where that stick of culvert drain is. I just kind of threw it on top. There is a natural downhill here, so it did drain out okay. But once it gets a little bit drier in here, which may not be until like June, I'll have to use either the John Deere or the Mini X to level that out. Maybe even trench in a little bit so that pipe's a little bit buried. And then here at the end of it, maybe I just make a little bit of a low spot where the water can flow into the woods. I've also been tempted to get another 20-foot stick, extend that 20 feet further into the woods. Maybe that'll keep this from all being so wet. But then I'm gonna have to get enough dirt to cover 20 feet or 40 feet of this culvert pipe so that I can mow. So it's gonna be enough dirt that not only is it covered up, but there's a gradual slope onto it, a gradual slope off of it. And then I also don't know if that's gonna create, when the pipe's there, if I create a slope up to it and over it, if that just is gonna let all this lay full of water. This is all still very wet, but it is a little bit more solid than the last time I was in it. I'm glad to have that piece on there to get some of that water further down. It's going to take quite a bit of work this spring to get my cleanup done from digging this trench. As you can see, there's still some dirt over there that needs to be pulled back on top of the trench, and we're nowhere near being smooth. This was just all what I could reach sitting on the Mini X and pulling back towards me. So here's the trench, and as soon as you step into it, you just sink further and further. That's what I call the quicksand experience. Oh, now I've got both boots stuck just for the purpose of video here. Jeez. Yeah, so that's going to need a lot more dirt filled into it. Let it dry out so that it's not so soft. Can you imagine if I would drive the front tire of the John Deere or the zero turn or anything into this soft trench area? Well, sometimes you just have to go back to doing things by hand. I wanted to get a little bit of a trench so that that pipe would sit a little bit more in a divot, and I think we leveled it out some. There is still a bump right there, but I can work on that a little bit more with the shovel. In the spring and summertime, the township cleans out the ditches, and a lot of times they're looking for somewhere to put the fill dirt. I might be able to have them just back in here with the dump truck and dump some fill dirt down along here that I can spread out with the Mini X or the John Deere and create that hump that I'm looking for. It always takes way more dirt than you think to create landscaping like that. So it would probably take a couple truckloads of the fill dirt from the ditches, which is never very clean. It's got all kinds of junk in it, but over time we can get that smoothed out and planted with grass. I do have several dirt piles in the driveway of just topsoil, and Jennifer's favorite dirt pile. Let's go show you that. You can see here that in the wind and rain, that IBC tote's missing its rain cap. It's right here, full of water. But behind it is the dirt pile I was talking about. Now this is almost all clay. This is dirt from when we were digging the basement to the house 20 years ago. This is where I had them put the dirt from digging the basement. I have chipped away at it over time as I've needed dirt for other projects. Now this would not be good topsoil or dirt to plant vegetables or even grass on, but this is good fill dirt. But I bet you'd be surprised how much of this it would take to create that hump over top of the drain pipe going across the yard. This particular dirt pile is probably 20 to 25 feet wide from down here to the other side of it, and probably 5 feet or so tall. We walk around here to the back. You can see there's quite a bit there to pick from. Looking through the woods here, I can see we lost several trees this winter. Lots of trees laying in there. The creek's flowing pretty decent. I imagine that after all that heavy rains, these were actually up to the edges, but that water has now moved further downstream than here. Got some skunk cabbage coming up already. And then this is one of those invasive plants. I can't remember the name of it, but we definitely should work on getting that stuff gone because it just keeps getting worse and worse every year. You can cut it off with the brush hog. I think the Guy that was here that showed us, you know, the types of trees on our land and did a forest assessment for us, said that you'd have to brush hog those 5 years in a row and in order to kill them. Get my boots washed off a little bit here in the water. Right here you can see we've got spots where the bigger creek meets with a smaller creek to form a little bit bigger, and this happens throughout our woods. I've talked in previous videos about how many bridges we would have to build to be able to ride the four-wheeler or the side-by-side throughout our woods, because there's just so much spring water and so many creeks that are developed. And in that video recently about digging the trench where it filled up with over 4,000 gallons of water pretty quickly, the creek is kind of what makes me think we've got all this clay, we've got all this water. Somewhere in here might be a pretty decent area for a nice pond. The thing is that this watershed fills up in a heavy rainstorm and evacuates a lot of water. So I'd have to have a pond with the ability to not only hold water, heavy water when it comes down like that, but also let a lot of water out, because a regular 8-inch standpipe just wouldn't do it for the amount of water that comes into what would be like a basin or a pond for us on our property. We'd have to have a pretty serious dam built and some pretty serious pipe, maybe a standpipe that's 30-some inches or bigger to get the water out. Let me show you this pretty interesting tree. Something has really been digging at it, looking for food. The top of it's still up in that tree, but right here, look at all that. Whittled away to just about nothing down here at the bottom. So make sure you leave a comment for me how much dirt you think it'll take to create a hump over top of this drain pipe that's not just like a speed bump, more like a gentle slope up, a gentle slope down, that I could ride the zero-turn mower up over top of and mow this area. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this little video update of the post trench work for power to the building, little walk through the woods, take a look at the creek, and thoughts on how to finish off this new stick 20 feet of 8-inch pipe. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you again the next time.